Okay, it's actually starting to look like an Elka organ now. So I put all this in there, the treble keyboard, the string synth, wave shapers, gating and whatever, and all the organ switches, that's what they're called. So string synth switches and the organ switches. And now I gotta, solder everything to the drawbars, which are under here. And I need to put in some, need to connect these, of course, all these wires need to be reconnected to this motherboard. I need to figure out where the power and ground go, so that everything gets the, the minus 12, minus 27 volts, and of course ground. I need to surface and finish a few cards for the drawbar organ. And then I should be able to more fully test all this with the actual power supply. Then that should at least be the drawbar organ working. Then I also need to do the string synth filters and the chorus. If that's working, then the string synth is working. And that's basically just the the treble keyboard done then. Of course it needs some front panel controls too to actually make it working, so I need to sort those out because that's still in a horrible pile. So that's kind of the plan for this episode. Okay, the stuff is all mounted, so now take a look at this mess. So, but it's all bundled together with all the audio cables, like all these. It's just gonna be a huge chore to cut all these looms and then arrange and sort out all these cables, figure out where they go. I sort of know already from all the photos that I made, but yeah, it's just this all just takes so much time that I forget things too. So. Well, I've been getting very confused about why some of the notes are working and some of the notes sound weird, etc. Turns out this schematic is a little bit funky, if you will. Because I assumed that since the main envelope and switching boards were over here, that this arrangement, was the same as it was in real life on the board, but it's not, because this section over here, this top section, should actually be at the bottom down here. And the order of all these boards is now basically reversed in this direction. So what I need to do now is swap the boards between top and bottom, because I was like so confused. For example, the 8-foot, like the lowest octave, it should be one entire board, but I only had the first couple notes playing, and then nothing, and then the next octave, and again was only playing like a few notes of the octave, and then nothing, etc., etc. Now, if you look here, normally there's a board type A in here, which connects all the notes. It's just one line here. However, since I accidentally got the order wrong because this schematic is so weird, instead of the 8-foot row, I accidentally placed the boards of the 1 1/3 foot row, which on the lowest octave has a C board. And you can see this connection is intermittent because it's separated in 2 octaves, the C board. And you guessed it, these are the notes that play, these don't, because, well, those are not connected. So that's what I'm doing now. Here we have the, this is an A board. This one was at the 1/3 foot, needs to go into the 8-foot. And the one from the 8-foot needs to go in the 1 1/3, because this is a C board. So yeah, I'm gonna have to unsolder wires, swap boards, solder wires again, and I'm gonna need to do it for all these. Okay, after lots of rigorous testing, got all the notes working, swapped out all those boards. Well, most of them, because some boards were of the same type, so I didn't need to swap those, luckily. There's just one final issue remaining. Like all the notes work, but there's one note. Yeah, that note sounds wrong, and that's the same note in the same octave that sounds wrong in every footage. So I think there's a short somewhere that's bridging two notes together here. Okay, I had to fix a little short in the oscillators, but they're all working now. So I connected the power and tuning to the oscillators and the power to the treble keyboard. And I also put in a breadboard there with a connection to an audio cable, which runs over there. So now, here goes. Ta-da! So that's all the notes of the of the oscillators working basically, and all the notes of the string synth working. So that is that is really good. Oh, that makes me happy. Now I need to put the oscillators back in place because they're kind of just flapping in the breeze there. And then I can start working on the drawbar organ. That's all connected too. So this is all the switches for the drawbar organ. And this is, well, the drawbars. So mystery solved. And then I should, somewhere on here, I should have 6 or 7 outputs, I believe. The outputs to this buffer card. This is just a bunch of transistor buffers. And then it goes here through the filters, which then combine their outputs to the main output here, which goes off to the other boards over there, where it's you know, it's has the tremolo effect applied and other things before it goes to the output. These are the little transistor switches that turn the various, I think the various registers of the organ on and off. It's used for certain presets, as well as turning the entire organ off. If you're like using the strings or something, you don't want an organ sound under it, you can turn the entire flute section, as it's called, off. And that's kind of what these boards do. But yeah, these boards, they need some retinning on the connectors. So that's what I'm doing. And yeah, I don't know if these transistors are all fully functional. So I'm gonna have to test the outputs of these boards. Okay, looking at the schematic here, here's 899. Here we have F1, F2 and F3, which are output from these transistors. Let's see, F1 is just this one. Just this transistor, so that will be easy to debug. F2 and F3 seem to have 2 connections, so that seems to mix 2 different footages together. Okay, insert the 3 cards in these slots over here, and they output to these connections over here to this final filter card. Okay, here's 933. It has an old crusty electrolytic capacitor on there, so I'm gonna put a new one on there. Kind of funny is how it actually missing 2 circuits. It's only 5 on here. Wait, what? There should be 7 circuits on here, and there's only 5? Okay, so this is 933B, and I need 933A, which does have all the slots filled. Regardless though, I can do something about this capacitor, because I'm gonna guess that's for the power supply. Yeah, that does seem to be for the power. So because these capacitors and these resistor combinations are used to generate various voltages in Elka. I always replace these because, you know, if these capacitors fail, yeah, you get all sorts of power rail shenanigans. I liberated a whole bunch of front panel boards, and wow, they are dirty. Good. So, time for a cleanup and checkup, and then they can be mounted. Okay, so got a broken trace here, which was bridged by this piece of very long wire. It's just, if I can do this, connecting these 2 points here. So that was a bit ridiculous. So I exposed some of the copper of the broken trace and bridged it with a little piece of solid core wire and some solder. So that's a bit better now. Yes, sliders and their everlasting filth. Oh man, yeah, this is gonna be great for my dust allergies. Okay, another board with cut traces and wires leading to places. I think this one went here. I'm actually not sure. I'll have to take a look at the photo real quick. Okay, so I'm looking at the service manual and then the diagram for the board I just showed, which is 972. And here we can clearly see there's that bridged wire going to ground. So that checks out. Here is connection NA, which isn't on the board, on the real live board, nor is this switch here. This connection, which isn't marked, is marked on the real life board, and that's the 8 foot, so K8 foot. Here you have K5 and 1/3 foot, K4, K2, it's K1. So that used to be a connection that they simply do not use. This is just unpopulated. There's no percussion for 8 foot, apparently, because they changed their mind. Or maybe that's for another model. You know, say what you want about these switches, but I do think they're gorgeous little constructions, the way they work. It's just, and they feel so nice too to switch. It's, yeah. Anyways, got all the switches and plates. Now there's also like an axle, like a brass axle that goes through here, but it goes through all 3 of these boards at once. I'm kind of thinking of cutting it up in 3 parts for easier serviceability. Okay, and that is the percussion switches all done. So, since this is mounted on like a steel plate, I cut the little axle in half. So, yeah, I just have 3 separate pieces now instead of 1 big one and 1 smaller one. Wolfie, I stuck it in the wrong hole. Okay, getting there. Man, it's like a nut and bolt per switch. It's pretty insane how engineered this thing is. Okay, this is the last piece that is still connected to the spaghetti. Unfortunately, it snapped in half and it became 2 pieces. Luckily, it's not too hard to repair. Okay, the final, well, the first half of the final piece. So these switches are kind of rough. They don't quite work right, so I'm using some PTFE spray for the bike. I already used it on these, and these are getting better now. Especially this one improved a lot. So I already cleaned it with alcohol, of course, with IPA. Cleaned up most of the flux of the soldering stuff. It's all very dusty too, so that's cleaned up. I think this side still needs to be cleaned because there's a little bit of corrosion there. Yeah, so these switches are kind of on their way out. Some of these work, some of these don't. Like this one and this one have broken, and this one had a little tap fall out. So that's this little tab slides from side to side, and there's a little plastic nub, a little pin sticking out. Yeah, of course that breaks off after a while. It gets a lot of abuse. So yeah, this switch doesn't switch anymore like it should. Okay, repair done. So that's there you go. That's all the broken traces fixed, and it's mounted on the metal bar so it doesn't move around, otherwise it break again. So yeah, the switches are, they could be better, honestly, but I don't know how to fix that right now, so I'm just gonna mount this so I can at least fix the rest of the synth. Well, that should all be all the front panel controls. Not everything makes sense, I'll be honest. Especially this area here is a wild goose chase of how the fuckery did this fit together. But it is all there. So now I can actually start working on making the organ with all the controls working. Okay, that's the motherboards mounted in there too, except for the quartz board. This one is still loose because I need to solder this mess on the underside of it. So yeah, I need to do this first before I can mount that. But hey, it's starting to look like an Elka synthesizer again. Yay! Well, I just soldered all these, and my back hurts like you wouldn't believe. But hey, at least it's done. Yay! Okay, I have a bit of a plan of attack now. What I'm gonna do actually is I'm soldering the remainder of these loose wires. This is all these, and those are mostly frequencies and the switches from the keyboards. So I'm gonna finish that up first, then all the frequencies from the oscillators go everywhere they need to be, and then the signals from the keyboards, the switches, also get where they need to be. And that part should be done. Then I'm gonna do all the power supply stuff, so all the cables that supply power everywhere, and everything has power too. And then I have a good basis to actually start continuing with the organ and the string synth and the mono synth and the drums and everything. Because yeah, the basis is there, all the tones are going into whatever I'm working on. All the switches which trigger the notes are going where they need to be. So then when I hook up the front panel controls and test the audio output of whatever I'm working on, then it should be working. And if it's not, then I can easily narrow down what the issue is, because then it's probably either the circuit itself that I'm working on, or the control signal from the front panel. Because yeah, then I already have all the power supply stuff and all the frequency stuff and switches already tested. So that seems like a good plan. Kind of an expansion on my original plan, but it works a little bit better, I think, than to do it in like these phases of various types of signals rather than. It's kind of a problem that these are dangling loose, because these are the base frequencies. This brown wire. Over here we have a third and fourth octave, and the third, fourth, and fifth octave. Some notes. Here's some switches. It's these white wires. So yeah, that's in this entire cabling. So, and here I had some loose wires which have now been soldered, which were to 1 octave of frequencies and 1 octave worth of switches. So if that's all dangling loose, then I get yeah, issues with shorts happening everywhere and things not working as they should, which is very confusing. So this way I can mitigate that and have a bit of an and have a system of, you know, doing this without losing my grips on it. Okay, cool.